What is up, guys? In today's video, we're going to be talking about chasing in Fortnite because this is probably something that's costing you a lot of games, whether you're the person chasing or the person getting chased, especially with how much mobility we have in the game right now. As always, if you guys do find this video to be helpful, informative, interesting, remember to give it a like, subscribe if you like some more, and comment down below if you have a tendency to over chase or if you have a tendency to just run away from fights completely. And then I definitely have a tendency to over chase and be too aggressive. In most shooters, it's often talked about or expressed that you just don't want to chase. It's like one of the most basic pieces of advice is just don't chase enemies, don't chase kills, because by doing so, you become pretty predictable and you're often going to be too tunnel visioned on just the person you're chasing. And this is really bad in a game like Fortnite because of how much is going on at once. And you often aren't just playing against one enemy because it's a battle royale with 100 players. So getting tunnel visioned on just that one kill can result in you getting third-partied, using too much on that kill, just leaving yourself vulnerable. Even if it is down to a 1v1 and you're just chasing that last player too hard, if you kind of let your guard down by doing so, you kind of open yourself up to them potentially just flipping the fight on you and losing even though you have an advantage. In Fortnite, having right shoulder peek is really OP because you can peek and shoot without exposing much of your character because of how the camera is. So if you're chasing somebody into right shoulder peeks, they have an opportunity to turn the fight and potentially hit you really hard with a shotgun and, flip that fight on its head, or even just the hollow twister this season. It melts really fast. So that can be another way that people can turn fights pretty quickly. Someone shooting you for like a second with that gun and they hit, all their shots. You probably just lost a lot of health. This season, someone may just wait for you to get, or someone might just get to cover and then wait for you to push them and then just start hitting you with the sword. And I feel like we've all been there where you get hit once and then your character is just getting kind of flung around and you don't have control of things. And then it could very quickly end up in a situation where you had an advantage and you were going to win that fight. And now it's just down the drain, Another reason why it is disadvantageous to chase is the person getting chased knows when they're going to try to do something or turn the fight. Whereas the person chasing has to react in real time where let's say you're running after me and I know okay, when I get to this rock, I'm going to turn and fight. I know that I've already decided that I'm prepared for that. Whereas the person chasing just kind of has to react, And even though there's a lot of bad things associated with this and a lot of reasons why you wouldn't want to do it, we all do it sometimes. And personally, I feel like in Fortnite, because there is so much mobility items and ways to escape fights, if you just let people leave anytime they want, you're just going to miss out on every kill. And there's going to be a lot of kills and a lot of people that you'd let get away that are probably going to be a threat later on. So why it is bad to chase and you're putting yourself in risk to chase, I still think it's something that's important to do and something you're going to end up doing a lot. I think it's just important to know and identify when you should and when you shouldn't chase or when you should or shouldn't pressure a kill. The two things that really matter most to me, if it comes down to whether or not I'm going to chase somebody, is, and chasing can also just be used as in terms of just pressuring this kill. Like I've got a damage advantage and they're trying to leave and I don't want them to leave, It's not just full brainless running after somebody. But two things that really matter to me are how much damage I've done and how important I think that kill is or how much of a threat they are. If I think they're a good player or they have something I really want, like a medallion, I definitely am more inclined to chase or push them. This can definitely backfire because the better players are going to be better at turning fights and playing those situations where they're getting chased and then they look for an opportunity to turn it, But if I do get an advantage versus somebody who I think is good, I care more about pressing that advantage and taking advantage of that advantage than if I think the person isn't really much of a threat at all. If I exchange shots with somebody and they seem really lost and it doesn't seem like they're good for whatever reason, I might let them go. But if I'm fighting somebody and they seem like a good player, their movement's good, they're, making good decisions, and then I get a solid advantage, maybe 150 AR damage, I want to push that more than the person who I said wasn't that big of a deal. That person who I thought wasn't that big of a deal goes on to live, probably isn't going to cost me the game. But if someone's a very good player and they're in the lobby, I want to take them out as fast as I can, especially if I do have that advantage, like I was saying. And then also how much damage I've done really matters. If you've done 200 damage to somebody, I really want to push that and get that elimination because you have 250 health max and zero build. But if I've only done 50 damage to them, probably really isn't worth pushing that much. Maybe we'll continue to try to keep biting, but I'm not full going in for the kill yet or thinking that that's what's going to happen, especially in zero build, because that 50 damage is just their overshield and it will come back over time. So if they shockwave away, then you shockwave to chase them and stuff. By the time you get to them, probably just back to like neutral ground, you know? Also, how far away they are really matters as well. If I AR somebody from like 150 meters away, like for whatever reason, like let's just say they're on a mountain and I'm on a mountain, we beam them, get good damage, but they're so far away, I'm probably not really going to chase that or really be able to do anything with that because the enemy has so much time to like heal before I get there. They have so much time to get lost. So I end up pushing into something, don't know where they are. They're kind of, you know, still in the area, maybe looking at where I'm pushing into. Then they catch me off guard. Things like that can definitely happen. So if they're very far away, I don't really care about it. And that's why I also don't really like fighting really far ranged fights in Fortnite. I feel like if you're, you know, trading AR shots with somebody close to 200 meters away, the odds of either of y'all killing each other isn't the greatest. It's better now with the Hollow Twister AR, but either way, like both of you have easy ways to reset that fight or just choose for it to not happen. And by being in that fight, you're definitely making yourself vulnerable to potential third parties. If I'm in a situation where, like, let's say the enemy is 30 meters away, that's like one shockwave away from like being able to push up to them and close that gap. So I am much more likely to try to push in that situation. Like, let's just take save damage. If I hit somebody 150 damage and they're 150 meters away, I'll just probably keep spraying. Maybe I don't really think I'm going to push that. But if I hit someone 150 damage and they're 30 meters away, I probably am really going to want to push that because it's close enough to where I can get onto them without them having much time to like completely get away or use much heals in that time. How many players are alive or in the match or just in the area can also play a role in this. If I'm in a situation where I know there's a lot of people in the area, I'm probably just going to let somebody go if they want to, because again, you're opening yourself up to those third parties and making yourself vulnerable. I feel like Island would be a really good example of this. So in 4th zone, the island spawns with the boss on it. If I tag someone like 100 and then they just jump off and start flying, most of the time I'm just going to consider them gone, because if I try to like void down and then look to shoot them, they can maybe just go back up or keep flying. It's like a messy situation. And then if I try to fly after them as well, they probably land first and beat me. But this is also a situation where there's likely so many people in the area. Even if you don't know for certain there is, you can typically assume when you're fighting around island that there's going to be several players in the area. So I feel like that's a situation where I'm very likely just to let people go if they are trying to leave, even if I get good damage on them, because it's just so chaotic in that area and so it's such an inconvenience to chase. But also, I want that invisibility medallion. So let's just say they're the only player that's going to contest island. I hit them 150, now they're leaving. That's more alone time I have with the boss to hopefully get that medallion. So it's not like I'm just getting nothing out of the fact that I got damage on them. Like the fact that I got damage on them and they're leaving allows me to get the boss. So like if there's other things you want to get out of that timing as well, that might be another situation where you don't want to chase. Like maybe you're weak yourself already. You get damage on them, they're leaving. Like cool, now y'all can both heal and you're probably happy with that situation. So if it's a very chaotic situation, there's other things you want to get done with that time that might be more important than just that one kill. I think that's also a time where you would want to consider not chasing. Rebooting would be another example of that. If you want to reboot your teammates, someone pushes you, maybe they were also trying to reboot, you get damage on them and they're leaving, like now you have the reboot ban and that's great. Mobility will also play a role in this as well. If I don't have any mobility, I can't really chase. This will happen a lot in the early game where like maybe I shoot at somebody, they shockwave away, I have no shockwaves yet, and it's just like, all right, that person's gone. Or they get in a car and it's a full HP car, I don't have any mobility yet, like that person's probably gone. So just like early game or just times where you have no mobility, I feel like will be another situation where like you can't really chase, and even if you try to, you're probably just going to end up at a sprint in like a somewhat open area. If you are chasing somebody though, because like I said, I do it, we all do it, you're probably going to need to do it, I think it's very important to keep in mind the situations where the enemy will try to turn the fight. If they go into a building, for example, you got to be very cautious about this and maybe just reconsider letting them go, because in a building, there's likely several right shoulder peaks that they may try to use. If they get to like a tree or a rock, probably expect them to try to use that to turn the fight. Don't just run in there thinking they're just going to keep running, because that's kind of like what I talked about before, where you let your guard down. If you're in the mode where this person is just running from me and then they decide to fight, that can catch you off guard. Any sort of high ground or elevation the enemy gets to, they may also try to use as a way to turn the fight. So be cautious of that if you are trying to follow them up to it. Also, try not to just follow a straight, predictable path to them, especially in wide open areas. If you have to like go through an open field to get to wherever they got, you probably want to take a different route. That way you are less exposed. Like if you run out of sprint in an open area and don't have mobility for whatever reason, that's not going to be good. Just in general though, if they are running from you, if you can find a way to cut them off rather than just following their identical path, that is something that's going to benefit you and probably reduce your chances of getting the fight turned on you. Whenever people are using cars, blowing it up can be really helpful. This will happen a lot of times when the cars are already weak. I feel like a lot of situations in Fortnite, and it's been like this for a while, you get damage on somebody and then their first instinct is just to get in the car and try to leave as soon as they take any damage, you know, like those people that are pretty scared. But a lot of times they won't consider that like the car is already weak, and then they'll just get in it and make themselves an easy target for you to blow the car up on them and get that like 75 damage on the car exploding. I had this happen a lot where like I was shooting at someone's car to begin with. They get out and try to fight me. The fight doesn't go their way, and then they try to get in the car again, but the car is already weak, and that's, you know, an easy opportunity to blow that car up. You might get the kill without having to chase them just off the car explosion, but even if you don't, you can get like AR damage on them after the car blows up, or push after blowing it up, and that's just another way to make the fight easier. If you're just running after the car, you're not getting damage in that time that you maybe could by blowing it up. I've blown up probably more cars in chapter 6 than I did in the entirety of chapter 5, and we're only like a month in. Also, if you aren't close enough to like hear them at all times or see them at all times, know that they could have healed. The healing items in the game right now are pretty fast. Like Big Pots heal decently fast, Chug Splash heal decently fast. Someone doesn't need a lot of time alone to get decent health with those items. So if it's been a while, expect them to have more health than just what you did to them. Like if you did 200 damage and you're expecting to fight someone that's 50 health, and then it turns out they used like 2 or 3 Chug Splash and their overshield recharged, that person is probably going to have a lot more health than what you initially expected. So keep in mind the overshield does recharge. This person can heal. You may just also need to accept that they're getting away and let them go. Maybe look for times to cut them off in the future if they let their guard down. I actually have a decent clip of this right here where this guy launch padded like kind of late in the game, and I got really good AR damage on him, and so I wanted to chase this kill and get rid of him, and he was also like sniping at me with the hunting rifle as well, so he was annoying me. And so I chase here, but eventually he gets to a car at the Bird gas station, and I just let him go. It's like, I'm not chasing that car. I don't have shockwaves anymore. Whatever. It's unfortunate he gets away, but I end up seeing the car later on and then catching him using a zip line, and I just get an easy elimination on him. So it's not like I was continuing to just full sprint run after him, but I was still kind of keeping him in mind and expecting to run into him, you know, sometime in this area because we were in the same general area. Also, if they get damage on you while you're chasing, you may need to let them go. Like if you hit someone 200 while running at them, they hit you like 100 with the AR, you might need to just get to cover and let them be. And even though they just got damage on you, they probably will just leave because you got damage on them first and you got more damage on them. The final thing I want to talk about is when you are the person getting chased. And this could maybe deserve its own video, but you know, for the shortness to end this one, pretty much all of this goes when you're getting chased too. If you're getting chased, look for some sort of cover or some piece of elevation or some opportunity to get damage on the enemy and turn the fight, because if you just run constantly, you're probably just going to lose, you know? Heal when you can. This is another thing that's very good. If you can get the enemy in a situation where like maybe they get third partied for whatever reason, that can benefit you. These two things are both really important though, like getting to cover and looking to turn the fight and healing when you can, because a lot of players just panic whenever they're weak and they just want a full run and get out of there, which can work at times. But if you've never defend yourself, like that fight isn't going to change, you know? Like if you're just trying to run and this person's chasing you and you're already behind on damage and you're not going to shoot back, like when is that fight ever going to go your way, you know? So look for these opportunities to turn the fight. And then I feel like this also gets you better for when you're chasing as well. If you're used to both situations, I feel like you play both better because you can kind of see, you know, what the person is likely going to be doing, what areas you think would be best to turn the fight, and then expect them to do that as well. And then same goes with the car. So if you're just like panic getting in a 1 HP car, that's probably not going to work out well for you. But that is going to be it for this video. I hope you guys found this to be helpful, informative, interesting. As always, if you did, remember to give it a like, subscribe if you like some more, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Thanks for watching.